She suffered from debilitating neurological pain that left her bedridden for 4 years. She lost her legal career and sadly lost her husband to cancer after just 1 year of marriage. Would she ever find joy again? Well, you're going to find out today as we tell her story on The Brave-Hearted Woman. Hey everybody, this is Damon, and this is my show, The Brave-Hearted Woman. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, each week I bring important topics for women just like you to help you live with courage and confidence and bold vision for your future. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm always giving out free resources that empower you. So you ready? Come on, let's get brave. Hey, beautiful brave hearts. Good to be with you. I hope you're doing well and that you have joy in your heart today. My guest today, well, she's contagious. You'll find joy at the end of this if you don't, but she's a Christian author, lawyer, jazz singer, comedic actress, violinist, and songwriter. She holds a JD from Stanford Law School and a BA in both economics and political science from UC Berkeley. Wow, she co-founded The Silverman Show, a multifaceted comedy, music, theological show, and released her debut jazz pop album in 2024. And this year, the author of the book, Singing Through the Fire, a memoir of finding surprising joy in life's darkest trials. Welcome, Lara Silverman.
Thank
Hi,
you so
Lara.
much. Hi, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
We are so glad to have you here. I'm eager to hear your story. I've been reading your book. It is so good. Thank you. I mean, it's so well written, and I can hear your humor and a little bit of the sarcasm coming through, which is your humor, and really delightful. I told you I'm not to the end yet, but you have been through the fire. Tell us about your story.
Thanks so much. My story is sort of a wild one in the sense that, so I'm a lawyer. I was trained, I've always wanted to be a federal prosecutor and I got my dream job. I really felt like the Lord opened that door. This was in 2018. And then 2 weeks into that job, I fell mysteriously ill with a very rare and severe neurological illness. And the hard part was I had been healthy as a horse, kind of go, go, go my whole life. So the timing couldn't have been worse. And the Lord really walked me through that in some coincidental timings and speaking to my heart about how I should resign. And so long and short of it is, he opened the door and then he closed it. And it was very confusing for me. But as my memoir details, God was holding my hand the whole way. It's not like he left me alone, which was quite interesting, almost like he was saying, take my hand, I know what I'm doing. And so long and short of it is I was bedridden for 4 years on a bed with my mom nursing me, just isolated in one room. And so I went from being high-powered lawyer in the courtroom in downtown San Francisco to being nursed on a bed, literally on a bedpan. I couldn't move my head left or right or 1 inch without the world spinning harder. Long and short of it is it's we still don't have a proper diagnosis. And it came to a point where I had to try to sit up again. Otherwise, I was going to die because I wasn't moving. And, the Lord sustained me in that. I still have not healed. I've been walking for 3 years now, but I can only sit up for maybe an hour or so throughout the day. So I'm still 60% bedridden. And so I've come to view it sort of like a Paul's thorn in the flesh, if you will. I strongly believe the Lord called me to acceptance rather than healing. And that's something that's been very hard for me to digest the last 3 years. Especially because the first 5 years of the illness, I tried maybe 150 therapies. I mean, my family has gone through the ringer and nothing worked. And you can imagine the wrestling I did with the Lord, which I detail in my memoir of why, if you love me, why aren't you healing me? And all those questions. But to get to the point, well, that's the beginnings.
Well, I mean, I'm already just blown away and have so many questions. You're so beautifully articulate, and I can hear, now to hear your voice and stuff, some of the writing in your book is coming alive as well. So, the book, can we just talk a little bit about that? Because it is a memoir, but it's a love story too.
Yeah.
And tell us about Matthew.
So it was really a God thing. Basically, my third year bedridden, all of a sudden, this guy from church who was just my acquaintance called my mom and said, I'd like to come over and encourage Lara, because as luck would have it, or not luck, he had been diagnosed with cancer very recently as well.
Ah,
And so he comes over and we start having these intense theological debates while I'm literally laying down on that bed over there and he's sitting next to me on a chair with his chemo pump. And we start debating theology and suffering and death. And he was the most faithful and Christ like person I had ever met. It was quite surprising how he was facing death so valiantly. It was almost like another point on his checklist, which I had never seen before, not in my church circles. We all fear death naturally, but this guy was something else. And so it's strange, but after maybe about 6 visits, we just sort of realized we were crushing on each other and then teasing each other, and it was sort of out of nowhere, and you can imagine we prayed about it because I'm bedridden, still half the day, and he was dying of cancer. I mean, we were still praying for miracles, our whole church was praying for him, but we basically fell in love and we prayed for intense direction from the Lord. Is this wise? Is this and I can't explain it, and I detail it in my memoir. God very clearly told me, take this gift of joy in your own grief, and go ahead. And we got married, and we had one amazing year of marriage. I mean, my memoir details all of the blessings the Lord gave us, even amidst all of his hospitalizations, my hospitalizations. I mean, it was almost miraculous. And then he died a year later. So
mhm.
which was
Yeah.
exactly last June. Not this last June, the June before. So it's been a year and 3 months.
Just, yes. What an incredible life experience that you walked through. And as you say, you're this high-powered attorney, you're in the dream job, and then this befalls you, and yet you still have joy. How does that happen? Why does God, He wants us to have joy in the fire, i- not after the fire, not after it's over, but in the midst of it?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the hardest lessons that God instilled in me the last 8 years, and in large part thanks to my husband's strong theology and love for the Lord, because I was very bitter for, you can imagine, for quite a long time. Just I would cling, and then God would comfort me, and then I would want to stray away again. I mean, it's been a very intense up and down valley, but the Lord has been by me, even despite my unfaithfulness. So that's an encouraging point. He has never let me go, even with my anger. But I've learned that, I mean, if you read the New Testament, it's all over it. I mean, sorrowful but rejoicing. Take up your cross, take it up joyfully. I mean, it's all over the Bible of, or give thanks in all circumstances. And it's so counterintuitive because you're suffering. How can I have joy? How can I smile when I've whatever, take your pick, lost my daughter, lost my husband, when I'm suffering with intense chronic illness, when I've lost my job, I mean, whatever the women listening to your podcast are going
Yeah.
through. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard, but you look at what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 4:17, which is our light and momentary troubles are producing for us an eternal glory which far outweighs them all. And it's such a deep verse, and we don't talk about it. I mean, I had never even focused on this before I started suffering, but it's right there in the New Testament. Somehow God wants us to have joy because our sufferings are creating eternal glory. It's sort of a mystery, but it's right there.
It is a mystery and it is right there. And yet, in our culture and even in our religious culture, we don't want to embrace suffering. We want to embrace the promises of
Yes.
healing and health and
Yes.
wholeness and joy and success and fulfillment. But suffering's not part of the equation, not in my mind, not in my heart. And yet, maybe in the scheme of things, God says
Exactly.
that.
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, you look at the early church. I mean, if you look at
Yeah.
Peter's epistles, I mean, they're telling the early church parishioners, like, God is allowing you to suffer to test the genuineness of your faith. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, there are so many
Yeah.
verses we could go into, but our
Yeah.
modern paradigm has almost shifted from what the early church thought it was an honor to suffer. And that's not to say we're supposed to seek it out. The Lord weeps with
Yes.
us when we suffer, but if
Yeah.
he allows it, he's doing something in it. So that's why we can remain joyful. Now, it's easier said than done. I mean, I still cry. I
Mm.
still, was weeping this morning, frankly. I mean, and so I'm trying to give I still have that joy, but it's sorrowful, but rejoicing. Like, I think you can hold both. You
Yes.
kind of cry it out and then you give it to God. And there's this relief that comes with that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the tension, and we do hold both. Two things can be true at the same time. And I wish that weren't so in terms of I wish you were walking in, this place of healing and strength because you are also an actress and a comedian. How does that express itself today?
Well, after Matt died, I was obviously in a lot of pain emotionally, and
Yeah.
God reminded me, He gave me this devotional on a really timely day that said, we can savor what's good while also grieving what's lost. And so I thought, okay, joy and grief. This is what God taught me with our whole marriage of getting married amidst terminal cancer. Take this joy. And so I just started making comedy clips on Instagram, and some of them, went viral. And doing Armenian comedy sketches because I'm Armenian. There's a lot of cultural comedy, making fun of aunties and moms, and my family was all on board. I mean, you can check them out. It's just because I love comedic acting, I love making people laugh, and so it was a way God gave me to sort of force me to laugh, if you will. Sort of
Yes.
the irony of me giving people joy in my own grief was something only the Lord could do. I mean, you're looking at me saying this person is a widow, she just lost everything and now she's still smiling. I think it was almost a testimony that God sustains us in the fire. And that's why I named my memoir Singing Through Fire.
Such an appropriate title that you've given your book. Let's go back to this verse that you were talking about eternity. How does the hope of that eternity keep going when life falls completely apart? How does that sustain us?
Honestly, the answer is it's the only thing that sustains us, at least for me, because when you lose one thing after the next, first I lost the health, then my legal career, then my husband, I have nothing else to cling to other than the hope that God is going to make all of this right in eternity in some sense. I'm not going to see redemption on this side in the sense, I mean, I am seeing it with my book, it's God is using my testimony to encourage others, but in terms of the why, why, Lord, I mean, I think, but having that faith that no, heaven is still part of the story. I will see the end of this story. My story's not over here, even if I don't get earthly redemption, even if Matt never comes back, which he won't, but I will see him again. And so if you think about how eternity, we have a gazillion billion years. I don't even know, I'm not a physicist, I don't know what the numbers are. If you look at that versus our temporal lives, it just changes the equation so much. And it's the only thing, frankly, that sustains me. Now, I'm not trying to escape the temporal life. I think we have a role in changing the world here and doing God's good works here. But that hope that all will be made right again is just, you can't, I mean, it's the only thing that sustains.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is why the apostle says, our light and momentary troubles.
Yeah.
And hard to think of what you're experiencing, what many people have experienced. My sister, the loss of her son, untimely
Oh,
death. Hard to think of it as light and momentary troubles, but you're right. In light of eternity, it is. And, when the word of God tells us in Ecclesiastes that, we're just a vapor, life is just a vapor, our time on
yeah.
earth is just a vapor. And we might as well, as you've embraced the joy of all of it, seeing the joy, two things true at the same time, grief and joy.
Yeah, that's
Y-
one of the main themes of my book, actually, having joy and grief. I mean, that's the title, essentially. And it's so counterintuitive, but that's what God calls us to do in the fire. I mean, sometimes it feels impossible, but He helps you do it. He gave me a husband while I'm bedridden. I mean, who wants to be, who want me? You can't even write the story. Actually, one of the beginning lines of my memoir you probably saw is God always writes the best stories. I mean,
Yes.
I couldn't have concocted, I mean, would I ever have thought I would marry a man with terminal cancer? No. And the world would say you're crazy, don't do it because you're going to lose him. But God's economy is so different.
Yes. How long ago was that, by the way, just to put
Yeah,
context
so
in?
we got married in March 2023 and then he died in June 2024. So it was
Yeah.
a 1 year marriage and 2 months of hospice.
So that is very fresh, really, actually, and you're probably still walking through some of those feelings. And as you
Yeah.
said, hey, I
That's
wept
why I
this.
was crying this morning.
I wept this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we wish we could put our virtual arms around you and love on you this morning. How did you start to write this book? How did you know it was time? Okay, I'm putting this in print.
I mean, basically, 2 months after Matt died, I'm lying on that bed, and a friend calls me and said, "Have you thought about writing a book?" And I said, "No." It's like, "What are you talking about? I've never wanted to be an author. I'm a lawyer. I'd rather go be a lawyer if I could," which I can't because I'm still sick. And then the next day, another Christian friend calls me and said, "Have you thought about writing a book?" And I'm like, "Okay, no." I start praying about it because it sounded really strange. And then everywhere the next week, I kept bumping into my devotional and my Bible reading, Ephesians 2:10, which says, "God has prepared good works in advance for us to do." And right there, the light clicked on. I knew he was answering me saying, "I'm giving you a job offer. I want you to write a book about your testimony." And so I started last September. It took me 8 months to write it. And then the last few months, I've been working on marketing it and all of the videos. And I made a beautiful book trailer. It's like a movie which shows the story. So
Yes, I've seen some of it. I haven't seen I'm so excited to share that book trailer with our audience, and we will make sure that we do that. We're going to put the link in the show notes of the book trailer so that they can see that. We'll also put the link for how to purchase the book there as well, because it's beautifully written, it's beautifully done. Did you have publisher? Did you self-publish this?
I self-published it, and in fact, I created my own company called Isaiah 43:20 Press, which was our wedding verse. And that
Oh.
verse is about having how the Lord gives us streams of water in our times of desert suffering.
Mhm.
So perfect, the just the theme. So, but yeah, I self-published it on Amazon, and yeah, actually this morning I hit bestseller status, which I'm so
Oh,
excited
wow.
about. My dad and I were just, I mean, I wasn't crying, but it was like, "Thank you, Lord." I just feel like he's redeeming my soul. It's not about the numbers. It's just the fact that it's resonating with people makes me feel like God is blessing my testimony.
Absolutely. And it's worth celebrating because it's not easy to do. I remember, as an author myself and putting books out there and not having that. And then the last couple reaching that. And it's joyful. It's
Yeah.
joyful. It's a kind of that smile of God upon your life. What would you like to leave our listeners with if we were to say, hey, there's women listening that might be going through hard times, maybe they're still angry at God. They're both they need him and they're mad at him.
Exactly. Oh, I can't tell you. I mean, I don't want to discourage people by saying I'm still there, but there are waves. I mean, the emotions with grief, as anyone knows, it's like one moment it's anger, one moment it's clinging to the Lord, one moment it's trusting his purposes and having incredibly strong faith. I mean, it's like a roller coaster. I mean, unless you're like my husband, Matt, who was just willing to die. I mean, that guy, I don't know, he was on another level, but I would say what God has taught me is there's always a purpose for the suffering. And I hate those trite statements of purpose in the pain involved. I mean, I'm not trying to put anyone else down, but when I used to hear those, I would roll my eyes because the pain was so painful. But
Yeah.
at the end of 8 years, I've changed as a person. And now I truly believe that there really is a purpose because there's so many verses in the Bible where God explicitly says there is a purpose in our sufferings. Otherwise, why would a good God allow it? I mean, it
Why would
just,
he allow it?
right? So that God is saying to you, it's not the end of your story. Yes, some stories do tie up in eternity. We might have to wait to see the redemption on the other side, but this life is a blip compared to eternity, as we mentioned earlier. So
Yeah.
keep clinging, even if you don't know when you will see God tying up that redemption arc. I mean, he promised Job to redeem his suffering. He did it for Job, and he'll do it for us. I mean, there's so many verses, Isaiah 61, about God giving us a crown of joy in exchange for a crown of mourning. I mean, we have to trust that he is good. And if he is good, he will end the story in a way that you just can't even imagine.
Mm, beautifully said. I want to just thank you so much for taking time and sharing with us and being on here today. And once again, we can find you in all the usual suspects. I'm sure your
Yeah.
social media, all those things will make available to our listeners. And Lara Silverman, thank you for being with us. Thank you for writing your book, The Singing Through the Fire. I can see that you're still singing, you're still joyful, and you have every reason to be, in addition to keep clinging yourself, my sister. Keep clinging. We're praying for you and,
Thank you so
and
much.
trusting God with you. Bravehearts,
Thanks.
thanks for joining us today and listening to this episode of The Bravehearted Woman. If ever there was a bravehearted woman, you've just met one. If you need to stand in faith, if you need your voice to be heard in your prayers, write to me, Don Damon. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you like I always do. Is this your moment? Find your brave and live your dreams.